It is day 2 of the Democratic National Convention, and there are more big names taking the stage tonight. Former President Barack Obama, First Lady Michelle Obama, and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer are scheduled to speak later on. President Joe Biden ended day 1 of the DNC by looking back at his more than 5-decade-long career. And former Secretary of State and 2016 Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton endorsed Harris, saying it was finally time to break the glass ceiling. Harris made a surprise cameo at the end of Biden's speech, and that appearance drew loud cheers from the crowd as she honored and thanked the president.
I've made a lot of mistakes in my career, but I gave my best to you. For 50 years, like many of you, I've given my heart and soul to our nation, and I've been blessed a million times in return.
We're opening the promise of America wide enough for everyone. Together, we've put a lot of cracks in the highest, hardest glass ceiling.
This November, we will come together and declare with one voice, as one people, we are moving forward.
Now, while the delegates and big political names are in Chicago today, VP Harris and her running mate, Governor Tim Walz, are scheduled to stump in Milwaukee, Wisconsin later. Joining me now with the latest is senior White House and political correspondent Ed O'Keefe. Ed, you are in Chicago for this convention, and I'm curious about what the energy was like on night 1. Of course, they are preaching almost to the converted, but specifically how it compared to night 1 of the RNC.
Well, Errol, remember, these were thousands of delegates and their invited guests who were fully expecting a month ago to be here in Chicago renominating Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Of course, we've seen what's transpired over the last 30 days, and it's now Harris's campaign. So it was an emotional night for those in the hall who did not leave, despite the really late hour for the president to speak after 11 p.m. Eastern. Normally, the conventions like to get this stuff, their big moments, done by 11 p.m. Eastern time, because then the local news begins on television stations on the East Coast and people start to go to bed. But that didn't happen last night. The president didn't finish until well after midnight. He only landed in California, where he's spending a few days of R&R now, about an hour and a half ago. It just shows you how late a night it was. It was delayed in part by protesters out in the streets who breached the security perimeter at one point. That held up those trying to get into the building. That held up the vehicles trying to get them here. And so the show, in essence, didn't begin until about an hour after it was supposed to start. Then convention organizers claim applause is what delayed things. That they didn't factor in for applause at a convention is like not factoring in for applause at a concert or, timeouts at a football game. So either way, President spoke. They loved it in the hall. And the message was received. I've done what I could for the last 5 decades. Happy to do it. It's time to hand things over to the next generation. In fact, at one point he said, when I started in politics, I was just a few weeks too young to even be in the Senate. Had to wait to get sworn in until he turned 30. Now he's too old to be president. He said it that way, and nobody in the hall seemed to dispute it.
Wow.
Because there were people in that hall who were part of the push to get him out.
And he mentioned that he is a transitional candidate now. Speaking of that next generation, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez spoke last night, a real standout speech. One of her remarks, quote, "We cannot send Kamala and Tim to the White House alone." Let's just play a brief clip of that for our viewers.
Yeah.
We cannot send Kamala and Tim to the White House alone. Together, we must also elect strong Democratic majorities in the House and in the Senate so that we can deliver on an ambitious agenda for the people.
And Ed, AOC, as she's known, really laid into the opponent, Donald Trump, as well, which we haven't really seen her do in her public remarks. What was your reaction to seeing her speech and how it was received?
Oh, it was very well received, in fact, and what a difference 4 years makes, because 4 years ago at that virtual convention, she had the role of nominating Bernie Sanders up for consideration, which of course wasn't going to happen, but he'd earned that right. And it was a taped 90-second address. Last night, several minutes, the crowd loved it. you know, you probably have to keep her on the list of future party leaders who will at least think about running for president one day, frankly, or at least try to climb through the ranks of New York politics first. But the point she was making, that a White House victory isn't enough alone, you got to elect Democrats to Congress, is one that especially those that follow her, party leaders would say, need to hear. Because so often Democrats do such a great job of turning out voters on the 4-year mark for a White House race, but then forget to be showing up for congressional and gubernatorial races in the midterm year, or come to the polls this year just thinking about the White House and forget that there are key Senate races, House races that they need to win, especially around New York City where you are, out in California, some here in the Midwest, that could put Democrats over the top in the House as they wait to see which of the Senate races could potentially get either party to only want about 51 or 52 seats. So important message from her, something we'll hear again tonight from Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, from Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, and from other people who are in Congress or running for re-election to key seats across the country.
It's a crucial detail. Those down ballot races are key in getting any president's agenda pushed forward. Ed O'Keefe joining us from Chicago. Thanks, Ed. And of course, CBS News will have coverage of Day 2 of the Democratic National Convention throughout the day, plus special programming beginning today at 5 p.m. Eastern.